Alrighty, Unit 6, the Middle Ages. Now, the Middle Ages are talking about a very large grouping of land and people, economics, social classes, government types, religious types, all of this type of things. But we have to start with the map. So when we're looking at the map, this is basically the map that we started with this year. So we're just going to start adding in more modern day countries. So we've got Spain, France, the UK, which remember that the UK has multiple names: UK, United Kingdom, British Isles, England, Britain, all of that, okay? We have Italy. It's no longer just the Italian peninsula. It is now as well Italy. We have modern day Germany. We have Russia. Asia as a continent starts right about here. We've got the African continent in the bottom left corner. We've got this peninsula at the top called Scandinavia. Mediterranean Sea hasn't changed. The Black Sea hasn't changed. The Baltic Sea we've talked a little bit about, but we need to make sure that we know it. It's right here. We've got the modern day country of Hungary. Depending on which era we're talking about, it could be Austria-Hungary, but for our purposes, it's going to be regular Hungary. And the Atlantic Ocean. Remember that the city of Rome is right here in Italy. And we have the city of Jerusalem in the corner. All right, so when we look at this, we have to remember all of those big important things that are happening, okay? Western Rome, which is from here over, has fallen to the Germanic tribes. So Europe in the Middle Ages. We're looking at after 476 AD, the Germanic invasions have destroyed what was once the Western Roman Empire. This area is going to have a decline in almost everything. Trade is going to decline because the roads aren't safe. The cities aren't safe to travel from or to. They don't have walls around them. They don't have a military to keep them safe. The roads and the bridges are going to start crumbling because they're not being used and not being upkept. And then you have education completely disappearing as well. Outside of the Catholic Church in Western Rome, education is a privilege. It is not a right. And what's going to happen is that you are going to live your entire life from womb to tomb on or within your village. You're not going to travel outside of your village unless you are within a special position within that village to trade, to go get special spices, to get special metals. And even then, you're most likely not going to go very far, no more than 10 to 15 miles. This time period has multiple names, okay? We have to remember that because no matter which name that is used, it all means the same time period. It starts at 476 and it's going to go for a couple hundred years. It's called the Middle Ages. It's called the Dark Ages because of the lack of education, the lack of science, the lack of everything except survival. And it's also called the Medieval Period. This is when knights and battles and all that, what we would consider the fun stuff, is going to come into play. Now, what is the foundation of this? So we don't have any unified government over that entire area. We don't have a military. So what is the actual basis or foundation of that society? Well, we have these ideas of survival. The Germanic tribes have taken over completely. You have warring groups that are fighting each other. You have peasants or the lower castes that are trying to just survive and find somebody who will protect them. And so you have these ideals that are brought forth because of rose-colored glasses. The idea of classic Rome. What was so grand about classic Rome? Well, as somebody who's living during this time period, it's going to be the fact that it was safer. It had a guarantee of food. It had all of these pieces, education and government and food and loyalty and all of these things. And that's what we want to go back to, because we hate the fact that we're living in this fearful time period of the medieval ages. We also have the Christian beliefs of the Roman Catholic Church. They are going to be front and center this entire time. They are those beliefs, the idea that the Pope is reigning supreme, that you cannot be safe without the Pope and the Roman Catholic Church. The Roman Catholic Church and your local priest are going to be able to tell you exactly what God is saying. And so we have to remember that medieval society is trying to find a balance between what was, what is, and what could be. You're also going to have the introduction of Germanic tradition and customs. Now, they are a nomadic people. We call them Germanic people, but each little tribe has its own name. And those traditions, those customs are very different. The one thing that they are going to have that keeps them cohesive is the fact that Germanic people didn't know how to read or write. They spoke all of their stories into existence. They are going to be the ones that have an oral history. They tell their stories around a campfire. They sing songs about all of their ancestors. And that's where they're going to continue to relive and remember their people. So who are these Frankish or Germanic kings? Now, there is one group in particular of Germanic people that are going to come out on top because they can garner loyalty, they can create a military of sorts, and they're called the Franks. Now, the Franks are going to be forefront in civilizing the Western old Rome. And we're going to start with the idea that Clovis, this is our strongest kingdom of the Franks, is a king within his tribe. Now, these are nomadic people, so they don't have cities or towns. They don't have written laws or customs. They're not written. That doesn't mean they don't have them. They have them, they're just not written. And this group in particular is going to gain a lot of followers because of Clovis and his ability to command on the battlefield. Clovis is going to actually get into a battle with other groups, and he is going to win those battles. And it's in the area of modern-day France, which back then would be called Gaul. And this area is going to then be settled by the Franks. What Clovis also does is that during one of these battles, he is losing. And he looks to the sky and he says, now remember, Franks, Germanic tribes, they're not monotheistic, they're polytheistic. They have their own belief systems. Well, Clovis is going to look to the sky and say, God, if you're real, you will help me win this battle, and if I win this battle, I will convert myself and my men over to Christianity. Well, what happens? Clovis wins. So he becomes an ally of the Roman Catholic Church. With this allyship, with this unification, we're also going to have a marriage which solidifies the union between the Franks and his tribe and the Roman Catholic Church. So more people will be converted, more people will grow up within the Roman Catholic Church. Now, after Clovis, those kings are going to continue to be Roman Catholic. They're going to then continue to expand their territory outside of France, out of modern-day France, into other areas. They don't do this through peaceful talks. They're going to do all of this expansion through military conquest, through battles. They believe, the Franks are going to believe they are winning these battles because the Roman Catholic Church and the Christian God is behind them and supports their quest to spread the word of God. This allows not just the Franks to have a larger empire, but also it allows the Roman Catholic Church to work with a king to reestablish Roman culture, what they believed to be the height of, or the most important things from the Roman Empire, of trade, of safety, of kingdoms.